America is trying to play empire. The government is lying to you. We need to get back to focusing on ourselves. These agencies became more powerful than the government itself.
End all of these wars.
Welcome to the Quest for Clarity podcast. Here is your host, Nolan Denaro.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Quest for Clarity podcast. I'm your host, Nolan Denaro. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, just to start off today, I do want to go over a poll that came out last night from Reuters Ipsos, and it says that 69% of Americans say that the Trump administration is concealing information when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein's case. So, essentially what that means is that supermajorities of the American people believe that the Trump administration is actively involved in a cover-up of the Jeffrey Epstein investigation. Okay, as much as we are told by Donald Trump in the last few days to stop talking about this, that anyone who still talks about this isn't a real supporter, and that we need to move on and stop focusing on this case that is, according to him, an Obama, Clinton, Democrat hoax. Yeah, Bill Clinton orchestrated a hoax that makes him look like a racist, sure. So, as much as we want to be told that, as much as we're being told that, we still have people like Tucker Carlson going to the Turning Point USA Summit and saying loudly, no, I'm not going to stop talking about this, and that the answers we've gotten up to this point have been absolutely unacceptable. We have people like Candace Owens, who has now launched an entire investigative series on Jeffrey Epstein. And anyone who's ever watched Candace Owens knows that you don't want to get her to launch an investigative series about anything because she goes down rabbit holes that nobody even knew existed. So this all signifies that the MAGA base is livid about all of this, and rightfully so, because we're being told that one of the major fundamental things that our base has been focused on, Jeffrey Epstein, this case that implicates the elites of our society, we're being told now that in a 2-page memo, nothing to see here, and now it's time to just on a dime move on. After all these years of not just Donald Trump, but people all in his orbit, all the podcasters that he's like friendly with, all the people that are now in his administration, the Kash Patels, the J.D. Vances, the Pam Bondis, Dan Bongino, these people who have made careers out of making a case about what they believe when it comes to this investigation, are now all in unison, just saying time to move on. And it's just too much. I have to say, it's just too ridiculous to go all this time and to not give us any sort of conclusive information and tell us to now move on. And I'm sorry, it's very concerning that all this is happening. I don't know what is going on behind the scenes. The people like Dan Bongino, I don't know what to say about that, because this guy has been non-stop on his podcast talking about not just Epstein, but all these other cases that implicate the worst of our society. Everyone in DC. All these cases, he made a career out of being the guy that goes on his podcast and exposes all the corruption. And even before he left, he told us to keep an eye. Go look up the clip. Told us to keep an eye on this Epstein case. It's very important. And then he thinks big things were going to come of this case. And then you get in there, and it seems like he was just given the script to go out there and say exactly what he said on the Fox News interviews. And that's it. And there's just no emotion behind it. And I know he's in a federal government office. I know he can't be too expressive of what he actually thinks. He has to be careful with what he says. But it's things like that make people concerned that the swamp that is Washington, D.C. is just taking these people in and just morphing them into these robots that have no individual thought. And for him to not even come out, I get it, because he's in an office. He's the deputy head of the FBI. But the optics of it are awful, to switch like that and then have no explanation really, and say the evidence is coming, and then we get the evidence of the video, and there's minutes taken out of it. It was shown that it was likely altered in an editing app. I mean, the handling of this has been absolutely atrocious. It's been awful. And for Donald Trump to go out there and say that he loves Pam Bondi and that she's doing a great job. No, she's handled this horrifically. She's completely incompetent. For her to start off the beginning of this administration and say all these big things are coming, and tomorrow you're going to see some names and things like that. She goes on Fox News every day and says, tomorrow you're going to see some names, tomorrow. And then for it to never come. And then for her to have this big PR stunt with all these Trump influencers, give them binders that say Phase 1 Epstein files, have them walk outside the White House and look to the cameras and show the binders and say, and just say, accountability's coming. And then they open the binders and it's just nothing new. It's all stuff that's already been released to the public. The handling of this, she intentionally embarrassed these people and got rid of all their credibility. It's awful what she did to them. And they're rightfully angry at this. So the whole handling of this has been absolutely atrocious. And for him, I don't understand how Donald Trump is so out of touch right now with the base. Because for him to come out and multiple times defend Pam Bondi and say she's doing great, when the entire base, from people like Charlie Kirk and Steve Bannon and Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens, and even people like Ben Shapiro are criticizing Pam Bondi, even though they're not criticizing the overall statements from the administration. They're criticizing Pam Bondi and saying, yes, she was very incompetent with this whole thing. And for him, amidst all of this, to come out, Donald Trump, and say that she is doing an incredible job, and she's doing incredible work. It's a shocking and concerning level of being out of touch that I've never seen from Donald Trump when it comes to his base. And for him to now he said yesterday, or I believe it was either yesterday or the day before, he said in his Truth Social post, which is a shocking post, said that he called the people still talking about it his past supporters. And he said he doesn't want their support. He never had their support. It's shocking, it's upsetting, it's insanity. And now you have people like Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, who are his supporters, who are not going to go along with this. It's just too ridiculous for them. And now they're launching these series and these podcast episodes strictly about Jeffrey Epstein because they're not going to just go along with it. And things are changing at a rapid pace. And there's also so much to get into about why this is incredibly dangerous for the Trump administration to be playing around with this investigation. 2028, J.D. Vance winning isn't just a given. We act like he's just going to swoop in and he's just going to carry the wave of MAGA, and all the supporters are going to come back and he's going to get 77 million votes in 2028 and win a soaring success. What we all forget is that this administration needs to be successful in order for that to happen. This hasn't, the recent times, this last month hasn't been good for this administration. We have gotten involved in the Ukraine war to a deeper degree, which goes back on everything we said. And now we're covering up in this administration. So this isn't, if you're JD, if the election started tomorrow, if the campaign began tomorrow, and JD Vance is running on what's happening right now, you think the Democrats don't have plenty to run against? We're handing this to them. I don't know, this is the most incompetent thing I've seen. The midterms are coming up, and we're getting involved in covering up the Jeffrey Epstein case. What are we doing? Can we please course correct? Can somebody get in Donald Trump's ear and say, look, the base is pissed about this. All your loyalist supporters, everybody, I mean, literally everybody, is saying that this is insane. What are we doing? We risk the Democrats coming back into power in the House, in the Senate, and in the presidency in 2028. If we keep down this path of not just upsetting the libs, because who cares, but upsetting the very people that were overwhelmingly enthusiastic to vote for you this time. It's also dangerous, not just because of the Democrats themselves, because if it's some establishment, Gavin Newsom, then it's just some establishment rando. But if it's someone like Zohran Mamdani, who was able to rally such radical support in New York City because of the fact that the New York City citizens were pissed at the establishment, like Andrew Cuomo, couldn't afford houses. They couldn't afford to live in the city anymore. He rode in on a radical wave of people who are fed up with the establishment. And if Donald Trump continues to look like he is the establishment, then we're leaving the door wide open for someone like Mamdani to take advantage of it and make himself look different from everybody else. And this connects back to themes that Tucker Carlson touched on in his Turning Point USA speech over the weekend. He said that people will turn to radicalism if they feel like the government and the elites of their society are constantly siding with each other at the expense of the everyday middle class people. And that's what we saw in New York. We act like that can't happen at a national level, but we forget that it did in 2016. That's exactly what happened. The Republican establishment was overrun by people who were just pissed off and voted for Donald Trump to just throw a wrecking ball at the entire system. We act like that can't happen for the Democrats. Wake up. Watch some other people besides just get out of this echo chamber of conservative media. Watch things like the Young Turks. Watch some other YouTube channels. Watch some Democrats. Watch some liberals, how they're talking right now. They are pissed at their own establishment, and they're ready to have a Donald Trump moment against their establishment. And we're sitting here so incompetent right now and acting like that's just not happening. Wake up. It's happening. It's coming. And we got to be ready for that. We got to actually deliver success in this administration if we want to carry our movement into 2028. Because if we want JD Vance to win, he has to have some things to run on. And we have to limit the amount of things that the Democrats can point to and say that these people are out of touch. Because that's how Donald Trump won against Hillary Clinton. He pointed to how out of touch she was and how deep in the swamp she was. So if we want to win in 2028, if we want to maintain control of the House and the Senate in the midterms, then we gotta fix this quickly, because this is just ridiculous. I think that's where I'll wrap it up for today. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Be sure to follow me on X, Instagram, and Spotify. Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good day.